Yo, what's up, y'all? Beautiful people, whoever you are, wherever you are, however you are, whenever you are. I hope you're enjoying your day. Let's get back to it. So, we've been talking about decoding the divine, and that is going to be the name of the series or the channel once I'm able to change the name again. But I hope y'all been enjoying it. We covered the three minds in one: the higher mind, the heart center mind, and the lower mind. We covered the how nature is designed to thrive, how the basis of our existence is designed to be abundant, you know what I mean? But we've been kind of robbed of that unknowing a little bit. And then we talked about the divine binary code, which is talking about the subsystems that make this all happen, right? The microorganisms and, all the times the things that die and or go back into the ground and recycle and so forth. And how all of that makes this happen. And if you understand that, you'll understand how this whole thing makes something even bigger than us happen. So let's get to it. This next subject we're talking about, I kind of covered a little bit in a previous video. It did okay, but I think the knowledge that was in the video was better than how I just have to make 3D animations and visuals for these videos, so that way it's easier for more people to grasp and understand, and it's a little bit more entertaining than just seeing me walk around. But for those of y'all who have been watching these videos and have been tuned in so much to where you can get all these downloads just from hearing it, shout out to y'all. Y'all are so tuned in already. That's amazing, because when you're watching videos, you're usually in an alpha state. And an alpha brain state is more so not the kind of state that you're usually in whenever you are meditating or whenever they say whenever you're meditating, you're in an alpha state. But you're more so watching something more so than like interacting. There's a different state of mind that you're in when you're in front of a mirror compared to when you're just like in front of a whole like nature like this, right? If I'm in front of a TV right now, all I'm gonna see is that TV. All this is gonna get like blurred out in my mind, But when you're out here, you can like take it all in, right? You can use your eyes for what they're really worth. Your eyes can see miles and miles and miles away, but for the most part, we're usually in a space where we can only see. We're usually in a room that's 10, 11 feet big or some shit like that. Anyways, so I'm just giving y'all a shout out for finding your way to this knowledge and so forth, despite there being so many different things that you can watch and entertain yourself with. So thank y'all. Let's get to it. So today we're talking about the idea of who you are versus the reality of who you are, versus the truth of who you are, right? So let's get to this, because I don't want this video to be that long. The idea of who you are, right? Now, this is more of the feminine aspect of who you are, right? And we're kind of talking about the psychological aspects of things a little bit when it comes to this. But, the reality of who you are is more of the physical, the masculine thing about you, right? It's the part of you that if you get thrown in a jail cell, if your body gets thrown in a jail cell, you're going to be in that jail cell until somebody lets you out, right? The idea of who you are, not so much, right? However, the idea of who you are can be corrupted, tainted. People can, paint pictures about who you are and so forth. But everybody will have their own idea of who you are, right? Including yourself. And that can't be put in a jail cell, right? So that is the feminine aspect of who you are, right? The feminine aspect can't be destroyed, right? Can't be contained. That's what makes it, that's the part that we're talking about, the great no thing, right? That's the beauty side of it, right? That's the side of you that lives on. And let's break down the idea a little bit more, right? The idea of who you are, everybody has it in their mind, right? It's going to be the difference between like how people value you, view you, treat you, so forth, right? And it has to do with like ego and stuff like that as well, and people's own egos and so forth. But the idea is just as valuable as the reality of who you are, right? Whenever you die from here, what's left over is the idea of who you are, right? When you're not around, that's what's in people's minds, and so forth, right? Even when it comes to attracting the other sex, women, they're definitely more invested in the idea, more so, and they're invested in the reality for sure. But if the reality matches, then the idea gets even better, right? But men, we're kind of more into the reality things. And I'm not saying all men and all women, but this is just more so the how these energies kind of gravitate, right? Men, if they see a woman with a fat ass and she's all like banging and stuff on the Instagram, they don't care who she is, what her name is, like anything about the idea of who they are. They just see the reality and they're just like, oh God, I want that, right? And it's like that with women too. Women can look at men like that. But I will say a lot of men where they fuck up, and women, y'all can say it too. Say it in the comments if you think I'm wrong. Where a lot of men fuck up is, if a girl can be attracted to a man and, say a guy finds out a girl's attracted to him. A lot of men can mess it up when they start talking. Whenever they start talking, it'll start ruining the idea, right? Because she might see this man and like, oh man, he's so attractive, like da 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 da. And then he'll go up to her and start talking, and then he's just like totally oblivious to like her or maybe something else, or maybe, his voice sounds weird, or maybe he might, he just a weird, something could just throw off the idea, right? And they don't know how to play into the idea. But, and y'all can let me know if you're wrong, if I'm wrong about that, but I see that happening all the time, right? It's about the idea, right? Even when they say like you have to win over a woman's mind first, right? And it's just it's the idea, right? You have to win over how she views you, right? For herself. And you have to be aware of these things. If you're aware of the idea of who you are, or how people usually, the idea that most people get from you and so forth, you can then play off of that more. You can then accentuate or enhance or alter, change, whatever you need to do, or kind of, optimize yourself more. You know what I mean? So that's what the idea is, right? The feminine aspect of who you are, right? And that's where the haters come in, right? And so forth. Like, everybody's going to have an idea of you. And we can't get too caught up in it, but it is a good thing to leverage whenever you can get that into a positive state for yourself and for other people, right? Because the reality of who you are, you can be out of shape or whatever, but if the idea of who you are is good and everybody loves it, then what else do you need to do? What's up, Birdie? What's up, buddy? Anyways, so the reality of who you are is more the masculine side of it, right? The reality of who you are is the side, like I said before, it can only be in one place at one time, right? And these are the opposites. If you get thrown into a jail cell, if you're in a car, you're going to be there. It's the physical aspect. It's this part of you that dies, right? So you have to also cater to this. This is also important because this also affects the idea of who you are. And the idea of who you are also affects your physical. So understanding this masculine and feminine aspects of yourself and how to balance these things and how to get them to play off each other, that's sex. You know what I mean? This whole world runs on sex. You know what I mean? Like the whole thing. Like if we didn't have money, if we didn't have like anything, it'd be food and sex. Really, like, and water. But if those things are in abundance, right? But I'm just talking about like currency, right? We all got here from the same thing, right? It took two people for all of us to get here. That's what makes life happen, It's what charges this whole thing up. So, but it also happens internally. It doesn't have to just happen between a physical man and a woman or two animals or whatever. It happens internally as well, right? Within ourselves, we can find this bliss when we start to align ourselves, the idea of who we are alongside the reality of who you are. But you also have to understand that you are not the idea of who you are, and you are not the reality of who you are. And that is the truth of who you are, right? The truth of who you are is neither. The truth of who you are is the aspect of you that was there, but in the before and the after picture, right? When you look at, say if somebody was lost weight, right? They altered the reality of who they are, and they also altered the idea of who they are because they were able to, transcend their current state to find a greater version of themselves, right? But there is a part of them that they're the whole time, right? They are still that same person from the before picture, right? As they are the person in the after pictures, and that is the reality. That is the truth of who you are, right? The reality is they are now that new person. They now have that new physical vessel that looks a certain way. It's the same vessel, right? Same person, but it's now toned more better, right? It's more optimal. So the truth of who you are is something that goes beyond this. The truth of who you are is something that's not going to be destroyed. The truth of who you are is constantly progressing and gaining and going, or not even progressing, it's just constantly going. It's there at the beginning. It knows who you were at the beginning. It knows what you were thinking at the beginning. It knows the idea that you had of yourself at the beginning. And it knows the physical version. It knows what it was like to walk around as a little kid self of you, right? But it's not that kid self of you, and it's not this adult self of you, or teenage, or wherever you are. And it's also not the idea of who you are. Even the idea that you have of yourself is not who you are. When we come out the womb, we have it's what you call an id. They call it an ID, an id, and it's a collection of your agreements of what you have about yourself, which is essentially the idea of yourself, right? If somebody says, "Hey, you're tall, you're short, you're fat, you're ugly, you're American, you're British, you're Russian, you're Asian, you're Indian," whatever, oh, you like cheese, or oh, like your breath smells, or oh, like, you walk like a girl, or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. All these things, people are always gonna have something to say, but anything that you take, you say, "Hey, that is me," or "Hey, no, that isn't me." No matter what, the snowball effect is gonna keep snowballing, right? You're gonna constantly add more to the identity or the idea of who you are, due to you accepting or denying aspects or things that who you are, right? Labels, I should say. Accepting or denying labels. Regardless of what you choose, right or wrong, whatever, it's still gonna create the idea of who you are. But the truth of who you are goes beyond any of that, beyond any of your thoughts, anyone else's thoughts, projections, or whatever. The truth of who you are is multidimensional. So, anyways, understanding these things, learning how to balance these things, because you can definitely, even though they're all divine, they all need each other, checks and balances. So you need to have the truth of who you are, being in tune with the reality of who you are, and also being in tune with the idea of who you are. You can't control the idea of what others have of you, but you can also change that. You know what I mean? I mean, not change it, but like, you can't make someone have an idea of you, right? But you do have the power to affect it. You know what I mean? But it's not really for us to be so invested in other people's idea of ourselves, right? But, some people are. Everybody's got their own swing, do your own thing. But just be aware of how these things play out and how these things work together. So that way, we won't be so much of a hater to other people when we see them kind of going out of their bubble a little bit, and they're trying to expand, themselves or whatever. But, and we also can, just understand and support one another a little bit better. Just connectivity. That's all we're doing here at Decoding the Divine. Just connecting people, man, with themselves and with each other. So I think that's the end of the video here. I'm hoping to take up too much of your time, but I hope it was worth it. Either way, love y'all. See you soon. Peace.